Hey everybody! Today we're taking a look at TROYES, the board game. This game comes from Belgium, from a game company called Pearl Games, and this game tells us about the story of the construction of a cathedral of Troyes. This game is a worker placement board game and a dice game for 2 to 4 players. And there's quite a lot of stuff in this game here. Today, we're not going to take a look only at the base game for Troyes, but also at the expansion for this game, Les Dames de Troyes, or The Ladies of Troyes. That is the name of the expansion. And I've got to say, this game has got some of the best medieval artwork that I've ever seen in any board game that I've played in my life. This game is really a wonder to look at. In this video, I'm going to show you how to play this game, and we're going to see together whether this game here is as good as it looks. So let's jump all the way back to the Middle Ages and let's play Troyes, the board game. Parbleu. So first of all, let's take a look at the components for this game. You see that this game comes with quite a lot of stuff, and that's pretty impressive. We've got lots of cards here with some very cool illustrations, lots of dice in that bag, lots of coins and victory point tokens in that other bag. And here in these plastic bags here, we've got all the wooden cubes and the wooden pawns that we need to play the game. We've got this beautiful board that is pretty wide, that is beautifully illustrated, that represents the citadel of Troyes. And right there on the board you can see the fortified walls of the citadel and the moat that goes all around the citadel. Then we also have this character card here. The base game includes these 6 characters that are all male. Then if you purchase the expansion, you can add 3 new characters to your game, and these are the Ladies of Troyes that you can mix with the original characters and you can play with all of them. The expansion is also going to give you more cards for the game, and those tiles over there, you're going to select 4 tiles and you're going to place them here around the board, okay? One goes right there at the top, 2 tiles on either side of the board, and 1 down here at the bottom. These tiles expand the world of Troyes that we got in the base game. Because you see, they're going to be placed here next to the board, and they're going to continue the artwork that we got on the main board. And I thought this was a very cool, neat idea for the expansion. I really like these tiles here. Now, right there in the center of the board, we've got the main square of Troyes. You see, it looks like a cake that has been divided into 5 slices. All the players are going to place here a wooden disc matching their color on one of these 5 areas. And now that's going to indicate that that area belongs to them for the rest of the game. These are the 4 colors that are available for the players in this game. We've got blue, then orange, then green, and the final color is just the natural color of these components that have not been painted. The players are going to choose a color. They're going to get the same set of components out of these 4 plastic bags. Now remember that this game is a worker placement board game, okay? So most of the time you're going to be placing here the wooden cubes and the wooden pawns that you get from this plastic bag on either the main board or one of the tiles, if you're playing this game also with the expansion. But this game is also a dice game, and you see right there in that bag we've got lots of dice of different colors. There's a lot of dice chucking in this game, and down here we've got these beautiful cards, which I think are really the heart of the game. I was really impressed here by the artwork that we got on these cards. I think this is some of the best medieval artwork that I've seen in any other medieval board game that I've played in my life. We've got yellow cards there, red cards, and more cards over there. Those are the white cards for the clergy, okay? So now we're gonna take a look here at all the illustrations that we got in this game, which look absolutely terrific. And we're gonna do that right now because I think that's totally worth it. Before I can tell you how you play this game, we have to complete this setup for this game first. Here we are setting up the game for 4 players. Right there in the center of the board, you see I have already placed some workers for the 4 players. At the very beginning of the game, you got the initial placement. During the initial placement, the players will be able to place down here on the board an equal number of workers of their own color. They will take turns placing down a worker one at a time in any one of these 3 locations here. And so these 3 locations are going to get filled up with these workers. Then once the initial placement is over, if you've got any empty spaces, those are going to be taken by the gray workers. And right now you see we've got 2 gray workers there in the church. Gray is a neutral color in the game that is not used by any one of the 4 players. And we've got more gray components here in this bag. I'm going to tell you more about this color later in this video. So this is my placement for this gameplay demonstration. When you set up the game with your friends, you're certainly going to have different combinations of colors in different areas, and that is totally normal. Once the initial placement is over, all the players are going to get dice of different colors based on where they decided to place their workers here on the board. And right there you got all the dice for the 4 players according to the initial placement. You see the players have got the same number of dice at the beginning of the game. The colors are different, okay, because that is again based on the initial placement. We also have those 2 white dice over there that correspond to the 2 gray workers that were placed there in the white area. If you take a look here, for example, at the orange player has got 2 red dice there. These correspond to these 2 workers that he placed here in the red area. Then he's got 1 yellow die for this worker here and 1 white die for the other worker there. Okay. Now you should also know that any worker that you place here in the red area is going to cost you 2 gold coins, as indicated right there on the board. 1 worker, 2 gold. Any worker that you place there in that white area is going to cost you 1 gold coin. So the orange player, for example, is going to have to pay now 5 for these 2 workers here in the red area and for the worker that he placed there in the white area. All the players start the game with 5 gold, okay. The players are also going to get 10 gold here from the bank at the beginning of every round of the game. Now the orange player has to pay 5 gold for his placement, so he's going to have to place this 5 gold coin here back in the bank, okay. And you see down here we've got more components for the orange player. We've got more workers there and more cubes that are going to be placed here on the board during the course of the game. If you have the expansion, the players can also use these purple dice here. So if you have the expansion, all the players are also going to get 1 purple die. This purple die can be used as a die of any color. That is 1 little extra that you get for the game if you play the game with the expansion. Now those dice obviously need to be rolled by the players, but before we get to do that, we have to take a look at a couple of other things that are again related to the setup, okay? So we're going to do that first. Down here we've got these fancy character cards. These are the men and the ladies of Troyes. At the beginning of the game you're going to shuffle this card. Then you're going to take a number of cards here based on the number of players. Since this is a 4-player game, we take these 4 cards here. Then you're going to deal a card to each player. Let's say that this is the card for the orange player. Then all the players can take a look at their card without showing it to the other players. This is the card for the orange player. This is Chrétien de Troyes. This is a very important historical character that also played an important role in the history of France. These cards are pretty important because they set new scoring conditions at the end of the game, so the players are going to get more points here based on the effects of these cards, and these cards can really determine the winner of the game. These cards are going to be revealed only at the end of the game. The players are going to keep them face down in their play area, right there, and once the game is over, these cards are going to be revealed, and then there's going to be the final scoring. Now we're going to set up here these beautiful activity cards. You see these cards are divided into stacks. On the board we got a number for each stack, number 1, number 2, number 3. We got the same numbers also there for these red cards. So for each stack you're going to take a card at random and you're gonna place it there on the board on its corresponding area, face down. As for this card here with the number 1, you're gonna take a card here at random, and you're gonna place this card face up on the board, because this card is available right from the start of the game. This other card here is gonna be revealed at the beginning of the second round, and this other card at the beginning of the third round. Now you're gonna do the same also with the other stacks of cards for the other 2 colors, the red color right here and the white color over there. And this is what the board is going to look like at the beginning of the game. And before you start to play the game, do not forget to place a wooden disc of your color right there on the influence track that goes from number 0 up to number 20. On that track, you're gonna keep track of your influence points. All the players are gonna start with 4 influence points. All the players are also going to place 1 special worker right there. That is one of the 4 main access points to the Citadel of Troyes. You see, that worker looks quite a bit different here to the workers that we placed at the beginning of the game during the initial placement. I'm gonna tell you later what you can do with that worker during the game, okay? Okay, so before I can continue with my explanation, I have to tell you that the steps that I showed you so far are really, really important. These steps are the same steps that you're gonna repeat at the beginning of every new round of the game. Whenever you start a new round of the game, this game is gonna take a series of rounds before the game is over. Whenever you start to play a new round, you're gonna do the same things that I have showed you in the last few minutes. You're always going to work out how much gold you have to pay based on the workers that you got there in those 2 areas of the board. When you start to play the second round, you're going to reveal the second activity card that you've got right there for each color. And when you start to play the third round, then you're going to reveal the final 3 cards that you got right there. At the beginning of the game, all the players will decide together who's going to be the first player, and the first player is going to get here this first player card. Then turn order is going to change during the course of the game. Whenever you start a new round of the game, then this card will be given to the next player. At this point, we're finally ready to take a look at the first event card for the game. The first event card that you are gonna reveal at the beginning of a round will always come from the top of a red deck. You're gonna reveal this event, and you're gonna place this event right here on the board. This is the event area, and you're gonna place this first event card right next to the event that you find right there on the board. When you reveal a red event card, you see you're gonna have to reveal another card as indicated right there on the card. So in this case, you're gonna have to reveal a yellow event card that you'll place here next to this event here that we just revealed. So these are the 3 events for the first round. Now we're gonna have to resolve the effects of these 3 event cards. These 2 cards tell you that you need to grab 2 black dice and you have to roll them. And right there we've got our results, a 4 and a 2. Here, this other card here instead tells you that you need to place a gray worker in the yellow area in the center of the board. Let me focus there on those 2 black dice. Those 2 black dice represent an attack on the Citadel of Troyes, and that is the power of the attack, a power of 6. Now the players will have to counter this attack to protect the Citadel of Troyes. So the players will roll their dice, and as you can see there, I have rolled the dice for all the players. The starting player, who happens to be the orange player, will have the chance to counter the black dice before the other players. He's going to use this 3. You see, this is a red die. When you use a red die against the black dice, the number that you got there on the red die is actually doubled. So here, this 3 is actually a 6. And right there, you get a total power of 6. This is enough to beat the black dice and counter them. So this red die here is going to get discarded, just like the 2 black dice. And the orange player is going to get 2 influence points. Each black die that you counter will give the player who countered it 1 influence point. So now we're going to have to move the orange there up by 2 on the influence track. the orange player now has 6 influence that he'll be able to use during the first round of the game. Now, starting from the first player, who is the orange player, and following this clockwise order, I'm going to show you what the players are going to do with their dice during this first round of the game. So the orange player is going to use the yellow die to place a worker here in the yellow area. So he's gonna place this yellow die here next to the yellow area, next to the corresponding row in the yellow area. You see here, you're gonna take a look here at the numbers that you got there, and you're gonna find the row that corresponds to this number. In this case, it is this bottom row right there. Now, the orange player can place a worker in that row on the yellow area, and he could use a worker from anywhere on the board. For example, he could move the worker that he's got there in the white area, he could move it and place it here in the yellow area. His best choice will be to take a worker there from his extra reserve. Any worker that comes from the extra reserve of a player costs 2 influence points. So now the orange player is back to 4 influence. And now he can place here a worker in the yellow area and in the corresponding row right there in the yellow area. When he does that, he's going to remove a worker of another color that belongs to another player. In this case, this worker here gets removed from the yellow location right there, from the yellow area. And we're gonna place it here on the board. The owner of that worker, which in this case is this player here, will be able to use that worker again during the course of the game and place it somewhere else on the board. This die here has been used, so it's discarded, and this was the first turn for the orange player. The next player is this player here, and he would like to use the effect of this activity card here. This is the card of the lumberjack, a yellow activity card that is available right from the start of the game. So now I'm going to show you how you can use the effects here of these activity cards that you got on the board. First of all, the yellow player is going to have to spend a certain amount of gold. That is determined here by the number that you got right there on the card. You see the number right there. So it's going to have to spend here these 2 gold coins to place a worker. In this case, this player is going to use the worker that just got removed from the yellow area right there. And you could place the worker here on any one of these 2 available spots on the card. If these 2 spots have already been taken by other players, then a player can still use that card, but he will have to place his worker right there on the illustration of the card. Now, in this case, this card has never been used before, so this player can place his worker right there on the first available spot, and this placement is going to give this worker 1 victory point at the end of the game, as indicated right there on the card. Until the end of the game, as long as that worker remains there on the card, this player will be able to use this card. Now, he's going to use a number of yellow dice. He can use up to 3 dice of the same color, and the color is indicated right there, you see. You must use yellow dice on a yellow activity card. He's going to use just this 1 yellow die here, this 6, and he's going to place it right there. You do the division right there, 6 divided by 2, that is 3, and now this player will be able to use the effect of the lumberjack 3 times. And that consists of placing 3 cubes there on this card. We discard this die here because this die has been used. Now, whenever this player decides to use the effect of the lumberjack during the course of the game, he will just have to remove a cube and he will take advantage of the effect of his activity card. All the activity cards in this game, you see, are going to reveal the second activity card for the yellow color at the beginning of the second round, and then you're going to have also a third activity card here that is going to be available during the game at the beginning of the third round. All these activity cards work a little bit different and they have different effects. You can take a look there at the symbols on the cards that I've got to say are not really intuitive. it's not really easy to understand what the effects for these cards are just by taking a look at the cards. So my piece of advice for you is that you keep this very handy-dandy sheet of paper close to you when you play this game. You should keep this paper on hand when you're playing this game, because here you see you got all the descriptions for the cards that you got in this game, and so all the cards are explained in detail. If you check here the effect for this card, for example here the card of a lumberjack, you're going to find the effect for the card here on this paper, and that is just going to solve all your doubts. Got to say that this paper here is really a lifesaver. You can't play the game without it. Now we can move on to the next player, who is the green player. And the green player is going to use his 2 red dice on one of the 3 event cards that we got down here. He's going to use the card called Brigandage. And you see there the green player has got a 9. 9 divided by 3 is equal to 3. So the green player is able now to place a total of 3 cubes there on this card. This is going to give the green player a total of 3 influence points for, you see, for these 3 cubes that he has placed there on this card. A player is going to get an influence point whenever the player places a cube here of his color on the card. Then later on during the game, when the final cube is placed here on this card, at that point this event card is going to be removed from the board. And the player who placed the most of the cubes there on that card is going to get 3 victory points, as indicated there on the card, and 1 victory point is going to be awarded to the second player who placed the most of the cubes there. So in this case, the green player will get 3 victory points, and this player here will get just 1 victory point. Then the card will be removed from the board. The green player will also keep this card as a trophy. These event cards at the end of the game can give more points to the players. These 2 red dice are discarded because they have been used, and you shift this event card here and any other events that you got here in the event area to the left. And now the blue player is going to play his turn. The blue player is going to use an activity called agriculture that you find right there on the board. He's going to use his 2 yellow dice that give the blue player a total of 12. He's going to place the 2 dice over there. Now he's going to do the division. 12 divided by 2, that makes 6. That is the result. The blue player is going to get 6 gold by using the 2 dice there to farm the field. This is the result of this activity. The blue player gets 6 gold, and these 2 yellow dice here are discarded. This action is called agriculture. It's just a very easy, simple way to make money using yellow dice. So now it's back to the orange player, who can now play his second turn for this first round of the game. As his second action, the orange player has decided that he's going to build the Cathedral of Troyes. Right there in that portion of the board, you can see the beautiful Cathedral of Troyes that is now being built. All the players can contribute to the construction of that cathedral by using their white dice. And for his second turn, the orange player has decided that he's going to use his 6 there. He's going to place it there next to the corresponding column for that die, for the number 6, and he's going to lay down there the first brick. Then he has decided that he's also going to purchase a die from that area of the board that belongs to the gray color, and to do that he's going to have to spend a certain amount of gold, okay? But by doing that he can use a die that belongs to another player. With that die he's going to lay down a second cube there on the Cathedral of Troyes. You're going to see an increasingly higher number of cubes that are going to be placed there by all the players. and all the players can lay down the cubes of their own color to help build the cathedral. Whenever you place down a cube there, you're going to get a certain amount of victory points and influence points. So that action is just a very easy, convenient way to score more influence points and victory points in this game. And that action is called Build the Cathedral. And now I'm going to cover the last type of action that you can carry out during your turn in this game. This player is going to move his own worker that he's got right there. You see all the workers for the 4 colors of the 4 players start from the same point at the beginning of the game, and you can take your own worker across the walls of the citadel. At the beginning of the game, these tiles, you see the tiles that are placed around the board during the setup, they are like out of bounds, okay? You cannot place cubes or dice or workers here on these tiles until you have unlocked them. And to unlock them, you have to move your patrolmen across the city walls. And once you reach here one of these tiles, you will be able to use that tile for the rest of the game, okay? So you basically unlock the tiles and they become new areas that you can use in your game. And this is TROYES, the board game. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you were able to appreciate here the great effort that I put in reviewing this game here, but believe me, it was not an easy game to review. This game is pretty hard. There's a lot going on in this game. You got lots of components, lots of mechanics. I think I've done a pretty good job, and I've been able to give you a nice, general, comprehensive idea of how you play this game. Now let me cover the final part of this game, that is the final scoring. The game is over when you have revealed the final card from the red deck over there, and remember that you're going to use only a certain number of red cards in your game based on the number of players. For example, in a 4-player game, you're going to use only 6 cards from that deck. When you have revealed the final red event, then all the players are going to take a look here at the victory points that they were able to score during the course of the game. Then all the players will flip over their character cards, and these cards can change absolutely everything for the game, okay? They can change the outcome of the game. So these effects here are gonna affect all the players. And these cards are gonna give more points, lots of points to the players based on specific requirements, okay? So, you know, it can be a little bit annoying because these cards are revealed only at the end of the game, but, you know, that is how you play this game. So you gotta be careful here with these character cards and their effects, because these cards are really important in determining the winner of this game. If you've got the highest score, that means that you've got more victory points than the other players, then you'll be the winner of the game. So how do I feel about this game here, TROYES? Well, you need to know that this game has been on the top of my wish list for such a long time. I've always wanted to play this game. I've always wanted to get my hands on this game. But when this game came out many years ago, it was way too expensive and I couldn't afford it. So I decided to wait all this time, all these many years, until I finally came across the right deal and I was able to get my hands on the base game and the expansion for a pretty cheap price. I told my father right away about this game, and we were both pretty excited because we really like medieval games. We really like that period of history, the Middle Ages, so we were both really excited. And you know, somebody claims that TROYES is the medieval board game that you must play. And so we were both really excited that we were going to play this game here together. I played this game multiple times with my dad. I also played this game with other people. I also tried this game with 3 players. And I've got to say that I didn't really like playing this game here. I never really had a good time playing this game. And also my dad didn't really like it. And in this video now I'm gonna tell you why, okay? First of all, let's start from the artwork. The artwork in this game is terrific. This game looks really nice. It looks like an authentic medieval board game. A game that was created and illustrated back in the 15th or 16th century. And that is really nice. The artwork in this game is the exact same artwork that you can find on the stained glass windows of your church. And I can't think of any other board game out there that has got the same kind of artwork that we got in this game. So the artwork really sets this game apart. Now, the problems that I have with this game are strictly related to the gameplay, how this game actually plays. If you take off this nice and colorful medieval veneer from the game, if you strip it away from the game, you actually see that there's nothing really great about the way this game plays. I found this game to be pretty repetitive. You're doing the same things over and over, and I never really felt myself involved in the actual gameplay. Now, I'm not saying that this game is bad, okay, don't get me wrong. I think this game is pretty cool, especially for the artwork, but I'm not saying that this game is bad, but I'm saying that this game is not great. I think this game is a pretty average, standard board game, okay? Nothing too fancy, nothing extraordinary about this game here, except for the artwork, that is really unique. Now, this game is a worker placement board game and a dice game. There's a lot of dice chucking in this game, you are rolling lots of dice, and that is generally pretty cool in a board game, except in TROYES. You see, you can easily manipulate the results of your dice rolls in this game, so it's not really important what you roll, and right there you are missing all the fun of rolling dice in a board game. Also, I've got to say that the effects of the cards in this game and the symbols that are used in this game are pretty confusing, and I remember especially the first few times when I played this game I just felt myself completely lost. I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know what I should have done in the game, and you know, it was such a bad feeling. The cards in this game really reminded me of the nightmare that I had when I played many years ago a game called Race for the Galaxy. I hate that game. I hate that game with all my heart, okay? In that game, you've got so many different symbols, and I remember when I tried to play that game, I was constantly flipping the pages of the rulebook back and forth, all the time, because I was never sure about the effects of the cards. And you're almost doing the same thing also here in this game. Now, thank God, TROYES is not as heavy as Race for the Galaxy. But you know, having to double check all the time the effects of the cards, that is really a pain in the neck. And really the symbols that are used here in this game are really confusing. What about the expansion? I've got to say that the expansion doesn't really add that much to the base game, and I think it's not really necessary to purchase the expansion. I mean, you already have everything you need to play with in the base game. Okay, so if you want the whole package, then go for it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy it, but I feel like there's not really the need to get also the extra stuff that comes in the expansion, because the game is, you know, you already have lots of stuff here in the base game. There's not really the need to add extra stuff. There's already lots of stuff. We've got lots of different mechanics, lots of different components in this game, but I've got to say it's all pretty confusing, and all these different mechanics don't really mesh well in this game, okay? So, all things considered, I think I'm gonna give this game a pretty average grade, because I think this game is pretty average. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. This is really the best grade that I can give to this board game here. And yes, both me and my dad, we were really dissatisfied with this game, and unfortunately, TROYES turned out to be really a big disappointment in the end.